Welcome. It's your man, God of Dots, back with another episode of The Audible. Hope everybody is having a very good day. Hope you're having a very good week. We're almost to the weekend. Shoo! How you doing, Dr. Nick? Yeah, this is probably the quietest space on YouTube right now. There's been a lot going on in other places, in other spaces. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But hey, we not there, we here. Jesus Christ. All right, so let's get into it. We started our last show looking at day one of NFL free agency. NFL free agency officially started yesterday at 4 p.m. Even though Monday started the unofficial start of NFL free agency. We looked at some of the deals, some of the moves that some of the teams made. We'll continue to look at some of the moves that have been made since last show. If you missed it, go back, like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. And then we're gonna get into a little NBA talk before we get up out of here. Yes, Doctor. This is probably the quietest space. And I like it like that. There's been a lot of noise, and Jesus, take the wheel. All right, so we're gonna look at like I said, continue our NFL free agency coverage. There's still deals being made, trades being made. We'll talk about some of those moves being made. And, we're going to end off the show with a little NBA talk as we kind of transition out of this initial period for NFL free agency back into the NBA stuff. We will be picking it back up if any big news breaks, but also we will be picking it up closer we get to the draft because the draft, mock drafts have kind of changed up based on some of the moves that have been made in free agency. One of the moves that we're going to talk about being made in free agency, I think it's a very, very good deal. I think it's a very underrated deal when you kind of look at what it brings to that team and to the offense and to the growth of the young quarterback. I'm talking about Calvin Ridley being stolen. I know the Jags was very much in talks to bringing him back, but he ends up signing a big deal to go to the Tennessee Titans, become in essence quarterback. Wide receiver one. He joins DeAndre Hopkins along that receiving group. Gives Will Levis, who I liked, based on his rookie season, his performance. Be offense. I liked his performance during the limited starts he had last season. I think he is their quarterback of the future. You bring in a guy like Tony Pollard. It didn't move the needle for me, but I do like bringing in Calvin Ridley. You combine him with DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins was still one of the best route runners in the NFL, still some of the best hands in the NFL, just doesn't have the game-breaking speed. You bring in a guy that, I'm not going to compare him to DeAndre Hopkins early on in his career, but has some of the same skill set and just younger and faster. I like them bringing in Ridley because that addresses a big need. You have a young quarterback, you want to develop him, and before you kind of throw the baby out before the bathwater, you want to know what you have at the quarterback position, especially when you're drafting them young. You get them some weapons. You see what happens when you don't get a weapons. Wink, wink. I'm looking at you, Giants fans, with Daniel Jones. When you don't invest in your young quarterback and get him weapons and actually see what you have. I look at the situation with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. If they don't go out and get a Devontae Smith, if they don't go out and trade for A.J. Brown, I don't know if Jalen Hurts gets the mega contract that he got, because it's kind of hard to evaluate young quarterbacks when they don't have talent to go with them to help them with the maturation process. I'm looking at what Carolina kind of recovered a little bit from the earlier rough start to free agency, bringing in Deontay Johnson, former wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, brings him in. He immediately, unless they draft a guy, immediately becomes wide receiver one in Carolina. Helps Bryce Young. They're going to have to do some more. I do like the moves they made along the offensive line to kind of shore up that. I'm not sure what kind of offense they're going to be running in Carolina. But back over to the Tennessee Titans. Like I said, I love the move of Calvin Ridley being signed. I don't think a lot of people was even talking about him possibly being signed. I don't know. Tennessee just kind of like laid in the weeds, kind of sprung up on him. Kind of, it's like I said, it's big move for them. I like I said, I like what I saw from Will Levis last year. Thing with Tennessee. Just didn't have the talent on the outside. I think this team is going to be transitioning from a real run heavy attack with the departure of Derrick Henry. Tony Pollard is a running back one, but as a Cowboys fan, I can say you're not getting Derrick Henry, you're not getting a bell cow. But Tony Pollard is very good out of the backfield, a better pass catcher than Derrick Henry. So, like I said, I expect this offense in Tennessee to kind of open up and be more explosive. I think Will Levis has the arm talent to do it. You pair Calvin Ridley with a DeAndre Hopkins. I like the tight end group that they have. You bring in Tony Pollard. I think Tennessee, your biggest needs right now is along the offensive line. Still have some moves to make along the offensive line. Right now, mock draft has linemen, offensive tackle being priority one in Tennessee. But we'll see how the draft kind of shakes out, and we'll talk about that as we get closer to draft season. Now, with free agents, we talk about the deals. We talk about the deals being made, the contracts being signed, potential trades being made. One of the trades that kind of popped up. I think Atlanta is positioning themselves with the signing of Kirk Cousins, bringing in Darnell Mooney, speed receiver on the outside, bringing him over from the Chicago Bears, and then earlier today, trading backup quarterback Desmond Ridder to the Arizona Cardinals for Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore, very similar receiver to a Darnell Mooney, but brings a lot of speed to the offense. I think Atlanta is positioning themselves with if they're able to have the same kind of defense that they had last year. And you guys been listening to my show, hopefully on a consistent basis. You know how I feel about Atlanta and their quarterback situation throughout the whole year. Excuse me. I felt if they had a quarterback, we would be having a different conversation as far as the Atlanta Falcons and how their season kind of ended with them bringing in Cousins. If Cousins is healthy, you have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts, you have Bijan Robinson, you have young talent, you bring in a Mooney, you bring in a Rondale Moore. This offense is setting themselves up to potentially be one of the better offenses in the NFC. In the NFC, I'm just going to start there just because I think the AFC is so loaded, but I think Atlanta. With Kirk Cousins, if he's healthy, you got to put the Falcons right there in the conversation for the division. We'll kind of look at what they look like after the draft and some of these moves are being made. But I like the move, get off of Ridder, allow Ridder to go to a situation. He's backing up Kyler Murray, so he may, Kyler Murray's injury history may have an opportunity to play. And I think the offensive style that they kind of run, where they want the quarterback to be kind of mobile, move, make plays outside of the pocket, may be more helpful to Desmond Ridder. I'm not saying dude is a lost cause. Right now, I just don't think he's starting level quarterback. I saw enough of him with the Falcons to know that, but I think he's in a pretty good situation backing up Kyler Murray, and we know what Kyler Murray's injury history is. So Ridder may get a shot. And I think, take this opportunity, Desmond Ridder, work on your craft, work on some of the things that, you was kind of behind on, reading defenses, learning to make adjustments at the line, take the time, holding the clipboard, and position yourself, in about a year or two, to possibly be in line to get you a opportunity again to be a starting quarterback. Right now, you're just not it. But I think Atlanta, for me, won that trade. Like I said, you bring in a Rondale Moore, very speedy receiver on the outside. You bring in a Mooney and free agency. You still have Drake London, who's more of the big body type receiver. Then you have Kyle Pitts, who's more receiver than blocker, very athletically gifted. I just think Atlanta right now, if I had to kind of pick an early dark horse, kind of like a team to watch going into the next season, I'm looking at the Falcons. I mean, so there's a lot of what ifs if this comes together, but if it comes together, watch out for the Falcons. Watch out for the Falcons. Like I said, we talk about the deals, we talk about the contracts being handed out, trades being made, but also at the beginning of free agency is also the start of the new league calendar, and that's when you see guys who have massive contracts. That's when you see a lot of guys getting a contract restructured or flat out cut. I'm looking at what the Chargers have done to address their cap situation out there with the Chargers. You cut Mike Williams to save about $20 million with that. You restructure Khalil max contract, and Joey Bosa, superstar pass rusher who's often hurt. is in the in talks, and I'm not sure if it's been finalized yet. It's in talks of restructuring his contract, trying to free up more cap space. You have Jim Harbaugh coming in, coming off a championship with the University of Michigan. He's the new head coach. This frees up a lot of money. Mike Williams can be, in my opinion, can be replaced. I'm surprised. I was, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was surprised when he got the contract that he did when he signed it. Considering that he, I don't look at him as a number one receiver, even though he signed for the big money. Keenan Allen was still wide receiver one and still wide receiver one. I think this kind of changes up what they want to do with the draft. I think the Chargers, if they're in position, I think you go get, if you can get a Malik Neighbors, if you can get a Rome Odunze at wide receiver, take advantage of Justin Herbert. Like I said, it's all about getting the weapons, seeing what he has. You have some talent along the offensive line. Running back is not a premium position as it used to be. They ended up losing Austin Eckler in free agents to the Washington Commanders. But I look at the restructuring of the deals allowing them to get more money up under the cap, maybe make a little small deals there. They was never in the market to make any big moves as far as bringing guys in of that sort. But I do like releasing Mike Williams. You save $20 million if nothing else. It wasn't like Mike Williams was lighting up the world out there with the Chargers. And Khalil Mack, in lieu of being cut, because he was going to be on the chopping block if he didn't restructure his deal, ended up restructuring his deal, saving the team some money. Joey Bosa is also in talks right now to restructure his deal to save some team some money. So Chargers, might actually be getting their stuff together. But in an indirect way, because like I said, they're not really signing guys. They're just freeing up some money to possibly make some moves. As we get deeper into free agency, for those who are NFL fans, after like the first 3 or 4 days, activity is still going, but most of the big names are gone. Speaking of one of the big names being gone, and I should have talked about this. I think I talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, but I want to talk about it a little bit more here today. Houston Texans have had a very strong start to the free agency period, and I think they're in position to make even more moves going forward. I like Jonathan Grenard. He had a very good year last year under rookie head coach at the time, DeMeco Ryans, in that defense. But I think they got to upgrade. I think I like Grenard. Yeah, he's a very good defensive end. But I think they got to upgrade. You bring in Danielle Hunter, you only bring him on a 2-year deal. So it's money tied up in him, but it's not any kind of long-term money. You pair him with a Will Anderson. They bring in I can't really say the dude's name, Aziz Shahir, former linebacker for the 49ers, very good linebacker. It's not Fred Warner, not Dre Greenlaw, but it's a very good linebacker. And he knows DeMeco Ryan. Since you bring him in, I like what the Texans got going on. You trade for Joe Mixon, you end up giving him a 3-year extension on his deal. I think he's going to be very motivated, running behind a very talented offensive line in Houston. CJ Stroud is going to hopefully get a year better. You get Tank Dell back from injury. Nico Collins had a very good year at the wide receiver position. Texans, last year before the season started, we wasn't talking about the Texans being in the conversation for even really being competitive. Not only were they competitive in the winning the division, have positioned themselves as one of the teams on the rise in a very, very, very crowded AFC. And I think Houston looked at it. Hey, this is the AFC. It's not getting any weaker anytime soon. There's not a lot of aging superstars unless you count Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, Tua, young. Mahomes, young. Burrow, young. Herbert, young. Lamar, young. It's a lot of young signal callers. And you have one in CJ Stroud, who had a very good rookie year. And I think is poised to do even better. I'm curious to see what they're going to do in the draft. As far as bringing in more talent, will it be on the offensive or defensive side of the ball? I'm not sure. Like I said, free agency kind of changed that up, but I like what Houston's doing. Be aggressive. You have a rookie quarterback that's on a rookie deal. This is the time you get aggressive as far as bringing in talent, not being afraid to spin a little bit. And I like some of the moves that Houston has made. And right now, I mean, I could make a case for the Texans being, favorites going into next year as far as the division is concerned. I like some of the moves that Jacksonville has done. But if I had if you put a gun to my head, and told me to pick a quarterback going forward, I'm taking C.J. Stroud over Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry, not sorry. Just off. I know Stroud. Even though he only had 1 year, I know he comes to play. He doesn't shrink from the moment, and Trevor Lawrence is indicative of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is a Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation going on there. But like I said, I like what the Texans have done thus far, being aggressive during this free agency period. Hey, you have an opportunity to get better and stay competitive in an AFC that is only getting stronger by the day. By the day. Now, one of the biggest questions coming out of the start of free agency is, what is Justin Fields' situation look like? Right now, he's still the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears who hold the number one pick. Most people who do mock drafts, most people who are looking at drafts say, hey, number one pick is going to go to quarterback out of USC, Caleb Williams. So that kind of leaves Justin Fields in the lurch. I'm not sure. And, I was a fan. I've been a fan of Justin Fields. I just think Chicago didn't know how to use him. And I see some of the moves that Chicago is making. It's almost like they're kind of resetting the offense. I think the defense is what it is, but you bring in a running back like DeAndre Swift, that doesn't really help Justin Fields, but it more or less helps Caleb Williams. I think they're kind of setting up the offense. There's been in talks to possibly bring in another big time receiver to have with the rookie quarterback. Justin Fields, and I hate to say this, man, like, it's when you look around the landscape of the NFL, with Kirk Cousins signing in Atlanta, with Russell Wilson signing in Pittsburgh, those were the two biggest quote unquote job offers. Now, if I'm the Denver Broncos, and this is kind of like an outlier, and this is all about, is Sean Payton willing to kind of adjust his system? If I'm Denver, I'm on the phone calling the Bears, because everybody knows Justin Fields at this point is out. It's no way. Nobody's trading up to take the number one pick, because they know Chicago is going to take Caleb Williams. It's not even up for debate. You can bluff all you want, and that's what happens during this time of the year. GMs and owners bluff about what they're going to do. We're going to take the best player available. Yeah, right. Number one is going to the quarterback, Caleb Williams out of USC. I don't think anybody's trading up. I think everybody's kind of made up their minds. It's a foregone conclusion that he's going to be the number one pick. Justin Fields, if I'm his agent, I'm going to the Chicago Bears, a permission to seek a trade. The Patriots may be interested. They're doing a complete reset, traded Mac Jones early in the free agency period. I'm his agent. I'm on the phone talking to the Patriots. I'm talking to the Broncos. I'm talking to those teams. I think everybody else that needs a quarterback in this draft, and the Patriots need a quarterback in this draft, but I think everybody else, when I'm talking about Chicago and Washington, I think they're kind of dead set. We're not moving. Unless it's an unbelievable trade package to come up and get them, but they're going to be happy with either Caleb Williams or Drake May, who I think will go 1 and 2. Jaden Daniels is an outsider, possibly going in that top 2. But if I'm New England, if I'm if I'm Minnesota, Justin Jefferson has kind of come out and said, he wants Justin Fields, it's a superstar wide receiver, saying that he wants a guy. If I'm Justin Fields' agent, I'm on the phone with those three teams, seeing if, hey, we can kind of get a deal done. Yeah, you'll pick up our 5th-year option. So that secures him for a season. Hey, Chicago, I think you may be able to get at this point, because it's no real positions open for him. For those three teams to possibly start, everybody else he'll be a backup. Get a 3rd round pick if you can. Get maybe a 3rd, maybe a future 5th for him. Like I said, I like Justin Fields. I think he needs to be in the right system, in the right scheme, to really take advantage of his talents, because I've seen what he looks like when he is unleashed and he is comfortable with the offense. I'm of the mindset of, hey, reach out to those three teams. If not, Justin Fields might have to look for the best backup quarterback situation, and you know, and it's no fault of his own. It's just how kind of free agency kind of failed. I mean, it was rumors that the Falcons was looking at him possibly to come in, and but Kirk Cousins swooped in and got that, so it's a wrap on that. I hate to see Justin Fields be regulated to backup quarterback because I think he still has so much untapped potential. Now, like I said, when he's put into position to be successful, he's a very, very dangerous quarterback. I just don't, I don't know what team is a right fit for him. I think his offensive coordinator and the play call in Chicago really hampered his progress since he's been in the NFL, but that's a story for another day. As we kind of transition away from, as we kind of hold on, give me a sec. Wait, it's just me and Dr. Nigga. So let me do this real quick. Bring it up. Okay, I'm sorry. Clicking on some stuff here. Y'all know me. But moving forward, with the NBA talk, then we'll get up on out of here because I do want to go support the good brother Hoodie and Robbie for the Moonlit Conversations. They're interesting to say the least. But we're going to talk about a little bit NBA before we get up out of here. NBA season is kind of winding down. We're getting down to where teams are jockeying for playoff positioning. We're getting to the point where health is becoming a big part of the storylines going forward in the NBA. And I want to start with the Western Conference. When I kind of like look around, you still have the top four teams battling it out. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, Timberwolves, and the Clippers. Is the injury bug about to start biting them? Kawhi Leonard is recently missed some action. Denver is what Denver is. I think Denver right now is trying to stay healthy because I think if they get into the playoffs, it's going to be hard to beat them in the 7-game series. Oklahoma City, I think they're ready. I think they're ready to take that next step in their progression. Same thing with the Timberwolves. I know Karl Anthony Towns is out hurt. It's a possibility he may be back by the beginning of the playoffs, but you got Ant-Man who is able to carry the offensive load on any given night. But the team I think is kind of under the radar that people are not really kind of looking at as far as like being in that conversation for contenders out in the Western Conference. I'm talking about the Pelicans. When you look at the Pelicans roster, when you look at the pieces that they have, if they're able to stay, and this is with a lot of teams, but more so with this team than any. When you look at this team, if they're able to stay healthy, you have a healthy Zion Williamson who's a load for anybody. You have a Brandon Ingram who's a former All-Star. They got a lot of good young pieces. And right now they're kind of like in that second tier of Western Conference, but they're closing. They're closing. Right now they're only like 4 games, 3.5 games back, depending on what the team is. They're right there in the hunt. And I've watched a couple games recently from them. It's going to be a hard out. It's going to be a hard out if they get into the playoffs. If they're healthy, they get into the playoffs. It's going to be a hard out getting them out of there because they got a lot of talent. I'm not even talking about CJ McCollum, who came back from injury early this season. You got Trey Murphy, you got Alvarado, who I like as a defensive first point guard coming off the bench. I like what they got out there in New Orleans. And if the rest of the Western Conference above them, I'm namely looking at the Clippers. If injury bugs start biting them at the wrong time, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the Pelicans, I think if they can get in, when I have to go through the play-in tournament, I think if they get in, it's going to be a hard out. It's going to be a hard out. Now, last time I talked about the NBA, we was talking about the Boston Celtics and their run through the Eastern Conference. And I think right now it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. They're going to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and and rightfully so. They've earned it with their play on the court. But I said this last time, and I know the good brother Unc and Speakeasy, lost little piece of change betting on the Nuggets game, and I told him then, and I'm continue to say it as we reach for the postseason. I'm not sold on Jason Tatum as being that guy. Um, I think he's a very talented player. I think, during the regular season, you want to put him in the conversation for MVP, fine. I have no problem with that. But I know when it's money time and it's crunch time, he's not the best player on the team. And that's just off, what I've seen um, through these last couple seasons when he kind of shrinks up when the moment gets tight. If you think back to that NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, Jalen Brown was the best player on their team. He didn't shrink from the moment; he stepped up. I'm not sure with Tatum. You got games. You got certain games on your calendar, your circle. You get up for it when you're playing. The Denver Nuggets, defending champs. This is a statement game. This is a game you want to go out there and put your best foot forward. I could get it if if you had a bad night shooting, I could take that. But Jason Tatum he just don't. For me, when I see him on the court, I don't see that dog. I don't see that dog in him. And speaking of seeing the dog, I think the rest of the NBA needs to take notice of what's going on down in Miami. Miami is starting with it's almost like a seasonal type thing. Around this time of year, Miami starts to get their act together, get their rotation set, get into the flow of who they are, and Jimmy Butler starts to elevate his game during this period. I think people need to be really, 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 really paying attention to what Miami. Miami is one of those teams that just you don't think about them until you get closer to the postseason. But I think this team um, maybe able to make a little noise, if they can get into the playoffs. They're starting to kind of turn their game up. Um, Defense, 3-point shooting, with them, it'll carry him a long way. Like I said, Jimmy Butler is kind of starting to get his stuff together. Another team out of the East, I'm gonna be looking forward coming down the stretch. I'm looking at the Knicks. I'm just like, man, can you stay healthy? That's going to be the key for the Knicks. I think the Knicks, out of all the teams, when you look at if they're healthy, um, probably I would say the Knicks right now probably will put the most fear into the Boston Celtics. Just how well they could play when healthy. I don't know what I'm getting from Milwaukee. Milwaukee has still at this point of the season is not found an identity for who they want to be. You want to be an offensive team. You want to be a defensive team. Like what do you want to be? And it kind of changes with them from night in to night out. I don't really want to blame it the adjustment on Dame Lillard, but even when you bring in Doc Rivers, the team is still kind of helter skelter as far as what they want to do as a team, what their identity is going to be as a team. So I'm kind of losing. I still have confidence in Giannis, but no heart, like Gator Girls. I'm kind of losing confidence in the Bucks making a very, very deep possible NBA Finals run. I just don't know what I'm getting from night to night. I just don't know what team is showing up. Sometimes they'll show up and look like the team that's ready to challenge for the throne. Then the next night it's like, what are you guys? Who are you guys? Like I don't know. It's been a very weird season in Milwaukee. Continues to get weird as we come down the stretch. But anyway, let me get my behind up out of here. We will be doing a Freestyle Friday show tomorrow. We will be talking about some of the fallout dealing with the University of Florida schools. For those who don't know, we'll kind of talk about that tomorrow, and some of the statements being made by people that I got to kind of question. Even the great Emmitt Smith from my Cowboys. Some of his comments of I'm kind of looking at you a little funny. Kind of looking at you a little funny. But we'll talk about that as we kind of get into tomorrow. So, like I said, Freestyle Friday show will be at 8:00. As far as the other space, I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll see. I don't know. Right now is kind of up in the air. As far as my motivation level to actually put together a show for that. But we will be doing a Freestyle Friday show over here. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night at 8:00. Like I said, it's going to be a very worthwhile conversation. Very worthwhile because I think if this conversation, as far as like this talking piece about what's going on with the schools in Florida and how that may affect football players or athletes going to Florida schools in the future, we'll see. We'll see. I have my own thoughts and commentary about it, but I will, we'll bring it to the table and we'll have a discussion about it and we'll see what's what. But like I said, the other space, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of liking the peace and quiet a little bit. A little bit. A little bit. It's a lot of noise going on. It's a lot of noise. But anyway, I appreciate everybody for taking the time out to listen. Shout out to the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the chat. Always like, share, subscribe, leave comments or whatever. It's always appreciated around here. We don't mind grinding and doing it the right way over here. But let me end it off with the phrase that pays over here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.